Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got a little bit of a different video for you. It is about this 2009, but this should be appropriate for all 2007 to probably 2021 Toyota Tundras. I'm going to be replacing the clock spring, which is the spring behind the steering wheel that all the wires go through onto the turning part of the wheel. So it'll be your horn, your airbag, your media buttons if you have those. This truck doesn't, and your cruise control. And the reason I'm replacing it is because this cruise control does not want to work on this truck. When I push this on-off button on the end, there should be a green light here that comes on the dash to indicate that the cruise control has been turned on. I already replaced the cruise control switch here with a new one, and that didn't fix the problem. There's no dedicated fuse for the cruise control on these vehicles, so the next thing to replace is the clock spring behind the wheel. The horn still works, interestingly, but the cruise control doesn't, so hopefully this will fix the problem. So follow along for the process and let's see how this goes. So right here we have the new part, Keef or Keef-C. I don't know what this says underneath it, but I'm sure it's good. There's a smiley face right there, and I'm pretty happy with this product. I'm sure it's going to work because it says to choose Keef is to choose peace of mind and trust. So I can't see how that could possibly not work. But in all seriousness, this is just a Chinese aftermarket replacement part. Hopefully this will fix the problem. There it is. So let's get to work on getting this steering wheel off and see how difficult that is. So the first step to this process is to make sure that your steering wheel is straight. That's very important because this thing has this lock on it when it's new, and you want to make sure it's centered. You want to make sure your steering wheel is centered, and when you put it back on, you want to make sure you put it back on at the same angle it came off. So my wheels are straight now. The key is out, so the steering wheel just about locked in the center position. So I don't think that's gonna move. So that's the first step. Now we're gonna go ahead and take off this airbag. What you're gonna need is a screwdriver or a knife or something. On this side, you're gonna have this plastic cover here, which we're just gonna pop that off. And on the other side, there's the same thing. It goes around this cruise control stock. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing here, but this just slides over that switch, it comes off. So those switches, those little access panels come off, and behind there's a couple of star bolts, if you can see in there, to remove the airbag from the steering wheel. So let me go grab a tool and I'll be right back. And now that those are removed, we can lift off this airbag assembly and disconnect the wire connectors from the back side of it. I'm going to use my pocket knife to pop out on these little yellow locking tabs. These are going to be replaced with the clock spring. And there is a wire here for the horn. It's just a spade connector. And we'll go ahead and slide that off. So there's the airbag assembly from the middle of the steering wheel. We'll set that aside. I'm going to disconnect this plug here that goes into the clock spring. That is for the cruise control switch itself. Like I said, I already replaced that, so I know how that works, but that just plugs into here. And then this is your wire for the horn. So this is part of the old clock spring. I'll show you here how that compares to the new one. You can see we have those yellow wires coming out with the black and the orange connectors. So it does look like the same part so far. I'm gonna go ahead and attempt to remove this bolt here, and I will tell you what size that is in just 1 second. Okay, so this is a 19mm nut here, so I'm gonna put that on there. I also got myself a 1/2-inch drive extension here, just to make the socket handle a little easier to clear the steering wheel, and let's see. Okay, so that wasn't too bad. And I am not going to remove that all the way. I am going to attempt to pull this wheel off first, so that if it does, for some reason, come off, it doesn't hit me in the face. So let's see what happens here. Okay, good. So that popped right off. No need for a steering wheel puller on this truck, which makes it easier. And I'm just gonna feed those wires through the wheel. And as you can see, removing the steering wheel's really not too bad on one of these, at least not on this one. It's a piece of plastic. It's broken off from something. Not exactly sure where that came from. But the next thing we're gonna do is grab a Phillips head and remove these two Phillips head screws here that hold this steering wheel column cover on. So let's go ahead and do that. Clean this up a little bit. And I'm gonna go ahead and pop out those Phillips head screws there. And this steering column cover should snap apart pretty easily. Yep. Lower section of it dropped right down. And you don't have to remove this all the way, but I'm gonna because it's pretty filthy. So I'm gonna take this and clean it up before I put it back on. And the top part will also lift right up. I'll just use this brush to clean it now a little more. Now, looks like there's a connector here on the bottom that connects into the clock spring itself. You can see that on the new one. Looks like there's a couple of connectors, so I'm gonna see if I can snap this out of here first. Okay, so the wires are short, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull that connector. It's got a locking tab. And those come right off. There's a third connector, so I don't know if you can see there, but I removed 3 connectors from this old spring. Take this nut off and slide the spring off of it. And there's the old one. So it looks like there's a steering sensor here that has to be transferred from the old clock spring onto the back of the new one. And from what I can see, I haven't done this before, but it looks like it just connects with a couple of little plastic clips here. So I'm going to start popping those off and see if I can get this sensor removed from the back of the old clock spring. There we go. That just popped right off. It looks like it's got some little tabs here that these some notches that these little pins line up in, so I'm not going to rotate that because I haven't rotated the new spring, and that's pretty close to lining up. I'll rotate it just a little bit and I'll go ahead and snap that into the back of the new string, and that's where our 3 connectors go. The steering sensor wire goes there, airbag wires here, and the other wire for the additional accessories goes there. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom this up a little bit so you can see. Connect these wires. I'm going to start by sliding this in. That snaps in place easily. And I'm going to go ahead and connect these connectors. Gray one on the bottom into that sensor we transferred over. Airbag connector. And the last connector there on the front. And now we're ready to put our shroud back on. Okay, so we got this cleaned up a lot. Looks a lot better. And let's see if we can get it in here. Snap it past that dash plate there and pull that top cover down. It's out in the right place already. There we go. That snaps on fairly easily. Go ahead and throw these 2 screws back in here. And let's reinstall the steering wheel. So here it is. We're going to make sure it's straight up and down. Feed these new wires through the top here, just like the old ones were. And it looks like we need to get rid of that lock now. So they tell you we're supposed to break this thing off, which is holding the clock spring in the center position. Once we get this off, we're not going to rotate this spring because we want it to be in the center while the wheel's in the center, and they ship it with it locked in the center. So go ahead and snap that thing out. Comes right out. Set that aside, and we're going to go ahead and feed these wires through and set that wheel on in the same position you removed it from. And reinstall that 18mm nut. I'm going to tighten this well. I'm going to go ahead and reconnect this cruise control switch wire. Grab our airbag assembly, and these wires just snap onto the back of here. So really easy type of connector there. And once you get the connectors in, then you will push in on the yellow locking tabs that lock them in place, like that and like that. And we're going to reconnect that spade connector for the horn. And we will set this airbag in place. Horn works, so that's a good sign. And we're going to go ahead and reinstall those 2 star screws on the sides. And these Torx bolts here are actually captive, so they do not come all the way out, so that makes it convenient for reinstalling them. It's going to honk at us if we tighten those. Let's go and do the other side. And lastly, I'm going to go ahead and put these little covers back on here. There's that one, and I'm going to go ahead and install the other one on the other side. And let's try it now, see if we fixed anything. Turn the key on, press the cruise control button, and look at that. I don't know if you can see, but cruise light is coming on the dash now. We never had that before. So yeah, pretty easy repair there. And it looks like replacing that clock spring did in fact fix the cruise control on this truck. I'll take it on a drive here in a minute and make sure everything works. But yeah, that's not hard. On most of these, from what I've read, you don't need a steering wheel puller, so that's nice. Easy to get to. This part did come from China, so it took a couple weeks to come. I was not really able to find an aftermarket one easily that didn't come from China, but it wasn't a big deal. It took a couple weeks off of Amazon. I'll put a link down in the description. And that's how you change out the clock spring behind the steering wheel on one of these 2nd generation Tundras. Not hard to do, and seems to be an effective repair. So thanks a lot for watching, and I've got a bunch more videos on various subjects coming soon. So consider liking and subscribing if this video was helpful to you. Thanks a lot. Have a good day.